Buffalo's got a bright future and an unforgettable past. Buffalo's got Del and Matt on the Talkin' Proudcast. Tune in so you can hear philanthropists and volunteers, good people who live and work in the biggest city in Western New York.
Well, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Talkin' Proudcast. My name is Matt Carlucci, joined as always by Del Reed, who's maybe to my left, maybe to my right. I'm not sure. Today, we have a very special guest, and as we always do, our guests are always very special. So I'm going to turn things over to Del, who is going to introduce our special guest for the day.
So today we have my friend Jill O'Malley. She has a little bit of a resume here. I want to make sure I give her the correct props. She's doing a lot of awesome things. She is a biology professor at ECC, the president of the Kenton School District School Board. I probably not saying that the right way, but it doesn't matter. Founder of the Kenton Parent Alliance, founder of the Kenton Closet, a resident of the great village of Kenmore, as I am as well. And also she is now the founder of another organization or initiative, we'll call it, the Kenton Cares program. Did I get all that right, Jill?
Yeah, I think so. Mom.
Yeah.
Wife.
Yeah, no disrespect to the family. So, so we just wanted to have you come on and talk about the Kenton Cares project, or however that's correctly labeled, Kenton Cares. You can give us a little bit of information in terms of what you're doing with that, and all the people you're working with, and we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, sure. So I was actually supposed to present on Albany for NISA as a part of a poverty summit on Friday, the 13th of March. And when this started sort of unfolding, a friend of mine contacted me and said, hey, there's probably gonna be a lot of people out of work. What about maybe starting a food pantry? So the next day we started talking to the town, Supervisor Eminger and Councilman Conrad, about the possibility of teaming up and running something. And of course, the closet occupies space in the old Jefferson School. We're on one side of the building, and the Jefferson Youth Center is on the other side. So of course, everything was in an emergency state. It took a few days. I was involved in a few meetings, but we started a Facebook page on that Saturday, the 14th, to just sort of see if there was any interest out there. And I think by the end of the weekend, we had like 1,000 likes. There was a lot of people that were very interested in helping each other, which was phenomenal. And then on St. Patrick's Day, the town had an emergency management team meeting, and they allowed us to use space. They had very specific regulations. We had to be gloved, we had to maintain social distance, and abide by the rules. And the way the setup is, we have teams working together. We initially just had food that was being donated to the project. And then my board of directors at the closet agreed to allow money to be funneled through the organization. And it's really important. And this is like, I'll see people say, can I just send you money? And I say, no, please don't send me money. We have a board of directors, we have an accountant, so that this money is, and we did say any donations that were made to the closet until April 20th would be earmarked for the food pantry. Unless otherwise stipulated. So we did have 2 donations that came to the closet that were just for the closet during that time, but the rest have been for the pantry. So now we've had a few churches that have helped us out. The Church of the Nativity, they went shopping for us and brought just loads and loads of food. So that helped us get through the first week because we didn't have a whole lot of money. And then a few other churches have made donations. And we are now hearing from our service organizations, the Elks Club and Rotary, which are also hoping to help. So the great news is right now, I did a spreadsheet of all the costs, and because of the donations have been so generous of food and also the money, we really have enough donations for the next 3 to 4 weeks. So we're ready to roll. We are distributing 2 days a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we're helping 30 families on each of those days. And we're going to be we're trying to sort this out with the town right now, our Sheridan Parkside community, which is where the closet used to be. A lot of our residents there do lack transportation. So we're trying to work out a method where some of our boxes actually end up in that community. They get picked up and brought down there. So when that happens, then we'll be servicing 80 families a week and 20, well, now it'll be 30, what we call senior or adult boxes, these would be appropriate for people who are single and live alone or are elder clients.
That is just absolutely amazing. I think it's really cool how that whole team came together so quickly, and it's great too, because a lot of the people that, helped get that ball rolling were people that were in leadership in, the Kenton area.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool to know. And there's nothing that you guys really gain out of that. That's what makes this,
Oh.
thing so noble. So I think that you guys really, really are leading, not just as, elected officials or appointed officials, whoever, all those different people are, but just as just fellow humans. I think it's awesome that you guys are really just leading by example. One thing I wanted to ask was you did mention the social distancing and making sure that you were trying to meet the county and the CDC guidelines and all that. How difficult has that been to really accomplish what it is you guys are trying to do?
Well, considering that our teams are small and we work in 3 separate locations, so we have a crew that's on donations. People pull up and they pop their trunk and our crew unloads it. Then we have a separate crew that brings it into the gymnasium to sort. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have a third crew that distributes, and they'll hand through the window. We have one of our volunteers that's staying outside, and he, we usually have a few males that do it. We'll load in the car, the person pops their trunk. So that's been helpful. I mean, I would say for sure, it's hard. We're human beings, right? We don't even think about being in close proximity to one another. So I would say like during pickups where you're trying to get stuff out of the trunk, we're trying to be mindful about that, but the space is big enough. We have loyal volunteers. They've been so fabulous. We've had the same crew. In fact, we had gotten approval from the town on the 17th, and then the 18th, we brought a crew in to clean and sanitize. And then we were accepting donations by the 19th, and a few people who were there cleaning, they stayed with us and they've been with us from the beginning. So it's awesome.
It is awesome. Before I rapid fire some more questions I have, Matt, is there anything that you would like to ask, that you want to chime in with?
Actually, a question I had, where is your base of operations? Because the people are working from home, not even just necessarily in this endeavor, but also in your job, in your role as the president of the school board, et cetera. Tell us a little bit about what your work from home setup is kind of like.
Oh, I don't work from home. So I really try. I mean, of course, there's times where I'm on the phone or, answering things on the computer. But when I'm at work, ECC, I'm totally devoted to that. I work for the Erie County Association of School Boards. I'm dealing with our elected officials from all across the Western New York delegation. So I have my setup there. And at the Closet, we're actually working on an office space for me now that was supposed to be part of an Eagle Scout project, which obviously is delayed for an indeterminate amount of time. So I have mobile sites. I have many satellite locations in the office. So.
Real quick, you mentioned, speaking of segues, and I know that we brought you on to talk about Kenton Cares, but can you share a little bit about Kenton Closet for those that maybe don't understand? Because you were talking about how certain things are earmarked, but people still wanted to give to it regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's amazing. And, if Matt and I were faithful to this podcast like we planned to be when we started it 2 years and 2 episodes ago, I would have probably had you on to talk about it anyway. So now's a great opportunity to really talk about that.
So the Kenton Closet really started at a time when the gap elimination adjustment was a thing. So not to get too technical, but it was basically the state had said, this is how much money we owe you, but because we have a deficit, we're going to take this money back. And at that time, Kenton was facing a $12 million deficit. My husband and I started going to board meetings, and that's actually how we started the KTPA, back in those days. If you didn't go to board meetings, you didn't know what was happening. They didn't audio record them. The minutes weren't posted until the next month. So if GT or hockey or whatever was being cut, you didn't know how that impacted your child. You didn't get a chance to speak out about it until it was too late. So we had started the KTPA to really just put the minutes out there, let everybody know what's going on. Well, while we were traveling around the schools to tell people about that, I couldn't believe the economic disparity. So at my children's elementary school, literally I'm standing behind a girl, very nice girl, telling her mother she needed to have her Ugg boots dry cleaned. And, not just, mommy, we need to get this on. And her mom was like, oh yeah, they are dirty. And then literally in the same day, being in another school in our district where children did not have any winter coats. When I went into that school, the nurse, talking school nurse, she had a spool of rope sitting on her desk, and I asked her what it was for, and she said it was to tie up kids' clothes because they'll get pants that don't fit them. So I really struggled with that was not only happening in my town, but it was the tale of two schools, if you will. And that's really where we started thinking about collecting winter coats and getting that going. And it sort of evolved pretty quickly after that. We definitely had a need for school supplies and toiletries. So it was really an investment in our community. We can't expect our kids to overcome some of these barriers, whether it's a socioeconomic disparity, or maybe there might be some domestic violence. We have a lot of kids, a lot of people don't realize McKinney-Vento, which is our homeless program, Kenton, is second only to Buffalo Public Schools in the number of displaced children that we have. So we have kids that are couch surfing. We have kids that literally live in a hotel in Niagara Falls, and we drive up a bus to go get them because they can declare, they can pick their school district. So I think one thing that's unique to Kenton is a lot of people have pride about having grown up here, but Kenton is a very different place. And when people ask me, what is the need here? I encapsulate it like this. We have almost 7,000 students, and our free and reduced lunch rate is like 44%. And that's self-reporting. That's not even numbers coming from the Division of Budget that say, oh, economically this household would qualify. I was one of those kids. I was a kid who qualified for free reduced lunch price and begged my mother to not make me take it because I was embarrassed. I didn't want people to know that I qualified. So I feel it. These kids need to not worry about what clothes they're wearing. They need to not worry about if they have scissors at home to do a homework assignment. So we're just trying to level the playing field and let these kids really reach their full maximum capacity.
It's so awesome. It's so awesome. And just, I knew what Kenton Closet did, but I'd never heard that story about the Ugg boots and then not having a winter jacket. And that just really brings things to light. So thank you so much for what you're doing with Kenton Closet and Kenton Cares and whatever the next Kenton thing is that you're doing. I applaud you. But I guess the next question is, if somebody wants to help, with either of these endeavors, like, how do they do that?
Yeah, the number one best is definitely dropping off, the food donations, because that just eliminates several steps for us. We don't have to worry about the money. What's happening now is we are accepting donations through our PayPal account, through the Closet's PayPal account, because it's a charitable giving fund. People aren't charged any fees. We're not charged any fees, but the main issue is, of course, we only get reimbursed once a month. So the Closet is fronting the money for this program because we know obviously PayPal is good for it. We do have a temporary landing site for the Kenton Cares on the Kenton Closet page, and it does have the areas where people links for people to sign up for food. It does also have how you can donate. So if you don't want to leave your home, if you're not shopping and you want to make an online donation, you can do that. We also we have an Kenton emergency resource spreadsheet that is not only available on the website, but when we give people the food, we put that list in there so they can use our service every other week. But there are many pantries in the area, and they have access to know where those are. So it lists like free meals for kids. This is where you can get free meals for your kids. This is where you can get groceries for your family. It's that's maintained by one of our volunteers as well.
And one more thing before I ask you for links to all those things is, if someone feels that if someone has a need, and times are different now, there's people that probably have a need now that maybe would never have had that need a month ago. So if, I'm not sure what all the stipulations are, but if someone has a need, how do they qualify, or how do they participate? Because it's great to know how to give.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Like, now there's people that probably need as well. So how can those people take advantage of what you're
This
doing?
is the perfect question, because when we initially started, we thought maybe we would just support an existing pantry. But when we started researching, we found out that pantries that receive donations from the Food Bank of Western New York, they have very specific stipulations. So you have to have a socioeconomic need, and you have to live in certain zip codes, which wasn't going to work for us, because we couldn't say, all right, family, you're 14217, you go this way. Oh, family, you're 14150, you go this way. And that is almost the exact argument that I use, is people who did not have a socioeconomic need 2 weeks ago even might now. So how would they prove that? So we really only ask for residency is it. The items that we give, they're nothing fancy. You know, it's macaroni, it's sauce, jelly, peanut butter, but it gets people through, and they just show us their ID. You know, when they register with the name, they have the address, we verify the address. When they pull up, they just show the ID and we load in the car. So we have had a few people that have shown up from the city of Tonawanda and also from Amherst. And, you know, I told the volunteers, we're all volunteers, obviously. I'm not going to put them in the position to be a bouncer or deny somebody food. So we do, you know, try to catch that before people come. Sometimes we miss it, but if they come, we do give them the food because obviously they came all that way. But we let them know there are probably resources in their own area. But we should be proud of this because this is our own people, like donating food, like food. Like this is probably the first time in many of our lives that we've seen such a mass food insecurity, and our people are feeding our own people. It's kind of amazing.
It's awesome. Yeah. And so thank you. And thank you to everybody involved with what you're doing for doing this. And I guess the last thing is, what links do you want to share, or how can people connect with this?
So if you go to kentoncloset.org, it's www.kentoncloset.org. If you Google search, it'll pop up. You'll see a link for Get Involved, and Kenton Cares pops up. So that's where we put a lot of our static information. We were trying, almost everything is on Facebook. We were trying to email things out, but I got put in email jail because they think I'm a spammer. So then it blocked me from sending out any more emails. So unfortunately, we're on hold with that right now, but all the up-to-date information is on Facebook, and anybody can, every week we update the sign-up list for help, and it explains everything there. We have the list for donating, a picture of what you can donate. So it's just one simple page that has everything you need to know.
Awesome. Thank you.
Is there anybody, Jill, out there that you want to thank or give props to, or have other people recognize who are listening to this right now? Anybody you want to put on a pedestal?
Well, first, my husband, because he puts up with all my insane ideas, so I have to thank him. Certainly, Supervisor Joe Eminger and Bill Conrad, you know, Councilman Conrad, this was a really sketchy, crazy time for any of them to be able to make decisions about this. And I do have my right-hand guy at the closet, Bart Bazankin. I work the morning shift, and Bart is there for the morning and the night shift. So there's continuity between the programs. So, but all of my volunteers are fabulous. And we have probably about 20 or so total. We have probably, well, maybe a little less than that now. Some people, their situations have changed, but yeah, it's a great group. I love them. Love to see them in the morning and swing by at night sometime to see them too. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So,
Jill, thank you so much, not only for just being here with us today, but everything that you've done. Your resume speaks for itself with all of it's just give. And that's why you're here. And that's why we have you talking to us right now, because you're inspirational. And I think the more people give, the better chance we have of getting out of this, getting back to normal, and then being better than we were before we went into it. So hopefully people take your example and do some good stuff when this is all over, and especially right now while it's still going on. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about it.